Right then, are you back?
I am, yes. Ready when you are.
Wonderful. Yes, right. So introduce yourself. Introduce the run. Give me a countdown for when you want the timer to start, and we shall get started.
Perfect. Yeah, I can do that. Right, so first things first. Hello, I am ViperUK, also known as Viper or Viper Races, wherever you have seen me in the past. Now to resume my usual gimmick of doing racing games. This is Horizon Chase Turbo, released back in 2018 by Aquarius Game Studios. We're going to be doing the Rookie Series today, which is I'd say the beginner category to do, more or less. So I'm going to get straight into it here. So it's one of the campaigns. There are several campaigns to do. The World Tour, Senna Forever, which is DLC that you have to buy, Rookie Series, and some buys, which I believe also have to buy. The Rookie Series comes with the game, so if you get the game, you get Rookie Series with it. Anyway, so we've got 12 locations, starting with California, go to Chile, Brazil, South Africa, Greece, Iceland, United Arab Emirates, India, Australia, China, Japan, and finally Hawaii. Anyway, I'm going to go to California, start with San Francisco, and we're going to use the Cruiser, which is the Ferrari lookalike game, and we'll get into the run. So here we go. Start with countdown of 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so Horizon Chase Turbo released back in 2018. Essentially, this was seen as at the time it was at least, was seen as a indie version of the old racing games like Outrun. So, for example, you can tell already that we're immediately going from, we're going round circuits of various different lengths, that sort of thing. Some circuits will be short, some will be longer. Going up against various cars and vehicles. Now, during this run, we'll be using the Cruiser, which is the Ferrari knockoff, I guess you could call it. We'll be using that for the first few races, and then we'll move over to the Dynamite, which is essentially a Dodge Charger clone. Now, I will just say as well that the creators, the designers for the game, did try to get around the whole copyright issue by, obviously, if you make a car look like one and give it a rather different name, then obviously you can get away with copyright, apparently. I think that's how it works. Anyway, besides that, a lot of the races will be around a minute to 2 minutes. Some will be less than 1 minute long. And the whole idea that we have to do, so we'll always start from the back of the pack, and it'll be 10 to 12 people that will start behind. You'll see us go through various landscapes, and various weather effects too. So you'll end up seeing us drive at some point where we'll be, I think towards the latter end, will be like a volcano and things like that. So the main time save and time loss actually comes from getting ahead of the AI as fast as possible. So we're going to try and do that here. The other thing is that you can pick up various along the way. You can pick up nitrous bottles. So nitrous is one of the ways of making this run a little bit faster, depending on where you use it. Now, sometimes it's better, not in every occasion, but sometimes it can be better to use the nitrous either through corners or at the start of the race to get ahead of the AI very quickly. However, you have to bear in mind that once you've used the nitrous, that's it. There's no way of getting the nitrous back. You can't regenerate it or anything like that. Like I said, there is pickups during these races, which we are going to use and things like that. And like I said, a lot of these races will be short, some will be a bit longer. I think the longest is like 2 minutes or something like that. But that is California done and dusted. So we now move on to our next point, which is Chile, and we're immediately going to jump into it. Now, it is worth mentioning the main guy that made the music for the old Outrun games was a guy called Barry Leach. He was also very famously known for making the soundtrack for games like Lotus Turbo Challenge, I think it was called, back on the Amiga and things like that. And obviously, like I said, this is a modern take on a classic, not a classic system, but classic gameplay style. So for those that weren't around in the 80s, like myself, back in the 80s when you used to have arcade cabinets everywhere, that sort of thing, you would have these games where you constantly put like quarters in or 20p's or 50p's in, and obviously, like I said, I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with what arcade machines were. I don't think anyone here doesn't know what they are. But the main thing above it is that, or the main thing about it is that it was a popular trend back in the 1980s, and racing games weren't. They were sort of popular. You had things like Pole Position and Super Hang-On and that sort of thing towards the latter end of the 80s, early 1990s. One series stood out more than any other, and it was Outrun, where you drove a Ferrari through the countryside, and that was kind of the end of that. But here's the thing, you didn't just drive a Ferrari through the countryside, you're actually able to pick what routes you wanted to do. So for those that have never played Outrun before, Outrun has you branch down various paths, and what you're able to do is you'll start at the same point every single time. But when you get past the first section, or to the end of the first section, the game actually asks you, which way do you want to go? And depending on if you went left or right would depend on, well, it'd depend on how hard or how easy you made it for yourself. Now the thing is, if you went all the way to the left, that would be route A, and that would be the easiest. But if you went all the way to the right, that would be the hardest. That'd be route goal E that you'd be going for. However, if you did a mix of left and rights, you're able to achieve goals B, C, and D, which makes it very interesting. Now, in 2006, the Outrun series got a new game. Now, the new game wasn't really new. It was a case of you had Outrun 2, which released in the late 90s, I think, or sorry, early 2000s. But then you had Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast, which essentially had the Outrun formula, but it allowed for drafting and that sort of thing, and made the game a lot more interesting, because by drafting you're able to send the car up to a higher speed and take it up to a higher speed, which is really, really good. So what ends up happening there is that once you've done that, it's a case of, okay, you're able to make this a lot faster if you so desire. So we're going to immediately jump into, I think this is Brazil, I think we're saying. So with the Outrun formula is nothing new. It has been done a hell of a lot of times before. You know, the racing game industry has took very heavy inspiration from the Outrun series over the years, including, like I said, games like this one. It's not, you know, let's not sugarcoat this for a second. You know, it is going to be a case of there are, you know, games out there which, if they look familiar, that's probably because they are. And essentially that's what's happened with Horizon Chase Turbo. So Barry Leach, the guy that created the old soundtracks I was mentioning before, he created the soundtrack for this game as well, and proved that he's still got what it takes to show off, hey, yeah, I can still make great soundtracks. Horizon Chase Turbo actually did get a sequel by the name of Horizon Chase 2. And you can call it Horizon Chase Turbo 2 like I do, but it is Horizon Chase 2. That's what it is known as. And it released on the Apple Arcade first, and then eventually came to Steam, and so, well, not Steam, it came to like Epic Game Store and everything. They did eventually release on PC, which was really, really good. And Horizon Chase 2 is essentially what you wanted out of the first game. So, for example, in the first game you had a lot of tracks, a lot of different locations, and a lot of unique cars, things like that. Like I said, it went very much off the Outrun formula. The sequel went one better. It improved its graphical quality, it improved the amount of cars, and also improved the locations and environments. Now, obviously, you would expect that with it being a sequel. And the funny thing is, a lot of people don't really know about the Horizon Chase game, or Horizon Chase Turbo, or Horizon Chase 2 games. And I highly recommend it, because the thing is with these games is these are designed with one thing and one thing in mind, which was, again, going back to what I was saying before about the 1980s. The 1980s, 1990s games, as daft as it sounds, were very much arcade-ish. None of this simulation, realistic crap you get these days. If you wanted actual fun, and you want actual fun now, not to say that the indie game scene can't do that, because obviously, as this proved, it certainly very much can, is that with racing games, a lot of players, casual or serious, do like arcade stuff. You know, it'll be a case of there is like a nice mix. And to be quite honest with you, I think it is a thing that is missing quite badly. I probably would like to add. If I'm being like completely honest, you know, like I said, back in the 80s and the 90s, you were putting quarters into these games, and you know, you were really enjoying your time with them. You really enjoyed everything that, you know, you spent. You hear all these stories about people who played racing games, arcade stuff back, you know, like I said, back in the 80s, and they would really enjoy it. They would really, really enjoy it, and that's the main thing that is missing in my opinion with racing games today. But like I said, back in the 80s and the 90s, they didn't have that problem. But nowadays, to find arcade racing games, they come and go. And being honest about it, this isn't a preach to indie developers, by the way, but it is one of those things where it's a case of, if you can, you know, if you can help the little guy, then by all means do so. Like I said, there is some cracking games that have come out over like the last year or two, which have been absolutely amazing. Like I said, this game was one of those that showed up, like I said, a couple of years ago, about 6 years ago at this point, and to be honest, it is a game that I enjoy picking up and playing, because like I said, its handling isn't anything to cry home about. It's not realistic, it's not got simulation physics, it's got grippy physics and things like that, and a lot of people will complain over that, but for me personally, I would say it's not a bad thing. If every racing game played like this, then yeah, okay, granted, that's not a good thing, but every now and again, just every now and again, you don't want to be playing a racing game that is genuinely based off, oh hey, yeah, we've got this racing game and everything, but hey, look at how good the graphics are, look at how good we do our simulation physics. And whilst there is a crowd for that, there is very much a crowd for that, there is a market for that. There is also a market for playing niche racing games. Now, whether you play racing games, like I said, seriously or for fun, there are a lot of people out there that go, hey, you know what, I'm more of an RPG sort of person, or, you know, I play these games, or I play them games. Oh, but I have played that one racing game, actually, and I quite enjoyed it. Oh, what was it? I think it was called Rise and Chase something, or Sega Rally, or Crazy Taxi. I can't remember the name of it. And it's like the games that they're naming or trying to name all have one thing in common, which is they have this, you know, these games all have this arcade feel to them, which is one of the main reasons why a lot of people remember them so fondly. It's one of the reasons people like them so much. You know, if people didn't like them, then nobody would play them. That's not to say these games are extremely popular, like, you know, in terms of they're not a Need for Speed or a Forza, but the thing is that Need for Speed is still an arcade racer in a lot of different areas. Forza obviously went down the whole simulation route, although got way too over-simulated. But here's the thing. With games like Gran Turismo, they went in a completely different path, which is why a lot of people, myself included, aren't as big of a fan of the series anymore as I used to be. Because Gran Turismo used to be fun, but the problem is they went down the simulation route, and now everything's got to be about esports this, and simulate this, and graphics this, and it's like, you don't need that. You just need a game that is fun for everybody, which is, I'll be honest, yeah, that's difficult to do because you can't please everybody. But games like this, they're a dying breed. They have been for many, many years. Also, this is Dynamite. This is one of the only vehicles that we'll actually be using for this. So the rest of the run will be using this. And for those that aren't sure or a bit unaware, so there was a very popular car franchise that came out in the early 2000s, and it still has an effect on car culture today. That series was, of course, you guessed it, Fast and Furious franchise, and that is essentially what this vehicle is based off. So, those that don't know, in Fast and Furious, one of the main characters drives a black Dodge Charger, which is what this car is supposed to be. It doesn't even try to hide it. Not only that as well, something that developers did do as well, is that you'll notice that our car talks, the driver talks in it, and the quotes that come out of the car depend on what it's referring to. So because of the fact of that this is based off the Fast and Furious films, the characters' lines are all based off the characters' lines are all based off what's it called? They're all based off the Fast and Furious films, which is really cool. And a nice touch, I might add. Very nice touch. So we're going to be using the last nitrous here on this main straight here. And that will keep us going to get around the final corners here. There we go. You can get caught up behind other AI like that. And that can slow you down, so the idea is also to try and make sure you navigate your way through those. But yeah, I mean, if we've got anything that we want to talk about, Sim, if you want to talk about anything charity-wise or donation-wise, feel free to go ahead.
I don't think there's any new donations, but you'd never guess what I've got. I have a nice warm cup of tea.
In Britain? Never.
Never. Anyway, no, there's no new donations, but of course this gives me a good time to at least tell people to donate, or ask people to donate. I can't force people to, can I? Unfortunately. But yeah, if you type exclamation mark donate in the chat, that'll bring up the link to the donation page. The donations go to the Yellow and Blue Hub, a community hub based in Wrexham, subject to the terms and conditions on that donation page. The donation will be sent at the end of the event, and notification will go out on Twitter and all that stuff when we've actually donated. The current running total that you see on screen is how much we'll eventually be donating to the Yellow and Blue Hub. That already takes into account the 10% cut that we take. That running total is currently £162.20, which is absolutely incredible. But if we can get £200 by the end of the day, then that would be absolutely incredible. So please keep those donations coming in, everyone. As they come in, I will read them out. There's only one incentive left on the page, but that's already been met. But if you do want to donate to that one, then you absolutely can do. There's nothing to stop you doing so. It's raised £118 out of the £50 it needed, which is much, much more than it needed. But there we go. And that's the Sneak King 50% new game Enter the Void incentive, which we'll be seeing later on at the end of the marathon. But yeah, so now I have my nice warm cup of tea, as we can continue our tea chat from yesterday, possibly, if you want to.
Yeah.
We can just talk about cars. I don't know.
No, I'm good with talking tea. Let's talk tea, thanks.
Tea and cars. Well, cars I'm not a huge fan of. Trains, though, if it was trains, you wouldn't be able to stop me talking.
Public transport's never been my passion. I'd rather drive somewhere myself.
Fair enough.
That's just me. I think it was just a case of after taking the bus for about 2 and a bit years to college and everything like that, I just thought, no, I don't like public transport. I take it if I have to. You know, it's a case of if I'm abroad, obviously I can't drive abroad, so I could rent a car, but then it's probably cheaper just to get the train and stuff.
I like trains. Like, the thing about trains is that well, at least what I find, I don't mind driving. Now, I can drive. I am legally allowed to drive. just to clarify, I do have a license and I do drive. I don't mind driving long distances, to be honest. The only thing I don't really like doing, because I've not really experienced it, is motorway driving. Now, where I come from, on the back and beyonds of the Isle of Anglesey, we don't have motorways. So the closest motorway to me at the moment, living in Wrexham, is the M56 or M54, I think, or one of them two. So motorway driving for me is not something I have really done, especially 3-lane motorways. So I've never been on a 3-lane motorway driving, which is so if I could take the train, like if I want to go a long distance, like if I wanted to go up to Scotland or something, I'd take the train because it's just more convenient, and I also get to look out the window. So,
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people I know that go to like UKSG, for example, a lot of people from like down south often get the train and stuff, but then there are like the absolute mad lads that drive up, and I'm like, wait, what? You drive up from the south? Like, yeah. Like, how long does that take? And I think it was like Rebel Dragon. I think it was he drove up, and it takes him like 8 or 9 hours or something. And then Joshima's turned up, and I think it took him like 10 or 11 hours. And I'm like, I couldn't do that.
I wouldn't be, at least not without breaks. I don't know if I'm assuming they're taking breaks halfway through. They're not just driving 11 hours. Yeah.
Well, like they spent a good chunk of that time just driving up.
Yeah, because when me and the family went down to London last year, so we went on holiday in the summer to London last year, and we drove down to London, but obviously we didn't drive within London because why would you drive in London?
Yeah,
the public transport there is great. I understand, like up north, the public transport is like shit, so it makes sense that the public transport isn't really utilised as much. But at the same time, it is just what it's been. That just goes to general public transport. It's not just the trains; it's the buses as well. And if anything, again, I prefer taking the train to the bus anyway. Like, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't mind taking the bus, but it's like if I have to, sort of thing. But yeah, trains for me, love it. But I'm going down to Farnborough in October, which I've already booked the trains for, but because I'm well versed in how to book train travel and how to find cheap tickets, I managed to get the return journey to London at least for about £44, which is not bad.
This might sound bad, but like I think we did a genuine like ticket thing, and we found out that here's the fun thing about this as well. Is just to kind of prove, for those that don't know about the UK as well, just to kind of prove how bad our ticket prices can be, or how costly it can be to go and travel up and down the country. It's actually cheaper to get yourself and a friend. There's a really funny story where two friends, one was in Newcastle and one was in Birmingham, and rather than one of them get the train to the other to meet each other, it was cheaper for them to fly to Spain or something and meet up there than it was to get the train to each other, because the train was like near £200.
The maddest thing I've seen on that front is not just that there was one thing I did see at one point where it was cheaper. I don't actually know if it was quicker. I don't think it was quicker because of bag checks and stuff, but it was cheaper. I think they did like a competition. I can't remember what it was on. I think it might have been on the BBC, where one person was driving, one person was taking the train, and one person was taking the plane, where they went from London to somewhere in Scotland, I think it was. And what the guy on the plane did was he went from London to, I think, Belgium or Germany, and then flew back to Scotland. And that was cheaper than taking the train directly from London to Scotland.
So it sounds about right, because of the fact of there's something like, overall, I think it is, it's you can get like really cheap plane tickets, but it involves you going somewhere, staying over, and then on some occasions. I mean, to me, sometimes it makes no sense with airplanes. Like, I like flying. I don't really care for it. As long the problem I have with flying is that, you know, if you're going somewhere like Australia, it's going to take a long time to get there. It's going to take you like near a full day.
Yeah.
And it is going to get boring. I'd much rather drive for, 10, 12 hours than fly for, than fly for that amount of time.
Yeah.
But then again,
Oh, I've never been on a plane. Yeah, I've never been on a plane, so I can't really comment on air travel. But
I have to remember that. But it is one of those things. It's quite funny how it can be cheaper to
it is.
just fly somewhere else than it is to actually
It is
meet up
completely
in the same
stupid.
country.
It's completely bonkers, but then when you actually look at the system, it kind of makes sense if you look at the system from like the operational standpoint of planes don't really get subsidized all that much, as far as I'm aware. It's just all private, and they're always trying to compete with each other. There's no competition on the railways, so it is a kind of a thing of it is just more expensive, but it's also heavily subsidized. So it's the government that controls a lot of the purse strings. So it kind of makes sense when you look at it. It's still stupid.
Yeah.
But when you actually look at it from an operational standpoint, like I researched a lot into this sort of stuff, so I
can tell
some knowledge as to So I have some knowledge as to what goes on in the background, as well as from a passenger's point of view. So. But if you're just looking at it from a passenger's point of view, it's like, yeah, this makes no sense. Yeah, it does make no sense, even from an operational standpoint. But when you actually look at it as well, it makes more sense to an extent, but still no sense at all. Do I have tea? Yes, I do. Broken hyperlinks in the chat. There we go.
So,
of course, I have a cup of tea. Yes, indeed.
the next race in particular is a bit of a tough one, because the layout of the track is horrendous. So, if you wanted to talk about anything like T trains, anything, now would probably be a perfect time. You've got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to do that.
What, to talk about trains?
Oh, do whatever. Because
great.
I'm literally I'll be concentrating on this one.
Well, why don't people go off the rails, haha, and donate? That was a terrible joke. I do apologize. But if you type !mark donate in the chat, that of course brings up the donation link to donate to Yellow and Blue. If you'd like to donate, then please do so. There is one incentive left that's already been met, but you can still donate to it. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. It's reached £118 out of 50, so it's well surpassed whatever it needed to get. But again, you can still donate more money to it. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. The system's not going to stop you either, so you can do whatever you want. But yeah, the donations go to Yellow and Blue, subject to the terms and conditions on the page. The total we've currently raised is £162.20. If you'd like, if we can get to £200 by the end of the marathon, that would be absolutely incredible. But yeah, so keep those donations coming in. As far as trains go, I mean, we've had a pretty big discussion about trains, but as I'm pretty sure it's rather obvious, I love trains. I try to take the train as often as I can, but obviously it's a rather expensive hobby, so
I won't call it a hobby. I call it's just a necessity sometimes to get from A to B.
Well, yeah, exactly. So like I was saying, I'm going down to Farnborough in October, so I've already booked the train at least all the way to London, and then I know that the train from London to Farnborough isn't that expensive anyway, so but yeah, I managed to get that sorted, and hopefully I'll be going to London at some point mid-October because I go to conventions and stuff, so I'm doing a convention down in Farnborough. And then hopefully I'll be doing another convention in October in London. So I'll be taking the train then as well, but I'll have to book that in advance. That's the thing with trains, booking them in advance, you do get rather cheap tickets occasionally. If you plan well enough in advance and you know where you're getting your tickets to.
That was a nice, clean start. I'll happily take that one.
Whee!
Wasn't sure if I'd actually be able to get through them.
There appears to be an ad break in progress.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
We skipped a race. Oh no. Is this on your side or on mine? I don't know.
On my side, you wouldn't have adverts on the custom RTMP stuff. Don't worry about that. It's just on Twitch. It says ad break in progress. Ad break ends in 47 seconds or something.
Funny thing is, that's that one race, and they just missed an entire race because of that break. Dun, dun, dun.
Damien just made a perfect analogy here, saying, "Oh no, there's an ad break. Oh yeah, you mean profit for yellow and blue? But we're technically not allowed to call it profit because they're not for profit."
There you go. Yeah, the law
So
says
it's not-
otherwise.
Yeah, the law says otherwise. They're not legally allowed to do that.
Is it legal? Well, yes, but actually no. Yeah, as I was kind of saying before, as I was kind of alluding to, so in regards to this game as a whole, it's very basic in its design and what it wants to do. Like I said, you're mainly driving around tracks and stuff like that. But honestly, there's really nothing wrong with that. Sometimes basic just works. You don't have to have a complicated game that shows off every last detail of a car to make it great. It just doesn't have to happen. That's the main thing here.
Profit for the non-profit. That's what Damien just said. Yes, it all makes sense.
It all makes sense now.
80% of the time, it makes sense all the time.
Anyhow, here we go. So we have got, so we're into China, so Hong Kong, and we've got Hong Kong and Beijing to do, and then we've got the next two after that. And you could tell as well, it could not be any more China if it wanted to be. Now, one thing I will mention, like music, everything, is quite interesting. But the one thing I will definitely add in this case is, if you have a look at not only like the environments look great, I will be honest, they look fantastic. But also, if you look at the track design, yeah, that is a unique track design if you ask me. And also,
that looks really cool.
keeping an eye out for, like, the thing is as well is there's a few things as well with this game. So you have to keep an eye out for the nitrous bottles because they soon pass you by, and some of them are needed. In speedruns, they definitely are needed. But wow, like so the track design is pretty amazing. I won't lie. I really like this track design. There is one, I forget if it's the next one, maybe? I'm sure it's in this run somewhere. One where it's just like a massive spiral going one direction. And then you turn around and you do a Yui, I think it is, and it's like, oh, okay, now I've got to do another one. Oh! Okay, that's... Didn't mean to hit that there. Also, again, arcade physics. That's good. We're all good. Yeah, monkey. I think it's something to do with... I don't know if 2018 was the year of the monkey, but if it was, that's pretty good. Like, you know, attribute to culture and everything. I quite like that if it is. Somebody'd have to check that if 2018 was the year of the monkey. If it was, then they got the Chinese New Year correct for this game, which would be pretty amazing. If they didn't, well, it's a monkey as a track design, which is cool.
The year 2018 was the year of the Earth Dog.
Oh.
In the Chinese zodiac.
They screwed up. Oh no.
That's what the Google AI tells me anyway.
That's probably right. As much as I don't want to admit it, it probably is right.
Oh, Year of the Monkey. Year of the Monkey. The Year of the Monkey is the 9th year in the 12-year cycle of the Chinese zodiac. So that was 2016. Year? Yeah, 2016 was the last year of the monkey, and the next one's in 2028.
Unless they made this game originally in 2016, and then when the game released on PC, it was 2018. That could be about right. I'm pretty sure Horizon Chase was available on. It was available on mobile devices first before it came to PC.
So it says here the initial release date was the 15th of May 2018. So it was released initially in 2018.
Ah.
But I can't find the Wikipedia article which tells me when it started production. So
that's just a wild guess, by the way. I don't actually know.
If it was maybe it started work in 2016. I don't know. Yeah, there's no information about when it started production.
Hit the wrong car there. Okay, I guess we're using the pink beetle. I didn't think about this, but anyhow. This will be a very interesting race then. I've never used this vehicle before. We're supposed to put a Dodge Charger, but I guess the beetle is now a thing. Let's see what the beetle can do. Can I win a race in the beetle? I know, I guess. Very grippy though. Also, with its short wheelbase, a Volkswagen Beetle is not the worst thing in the world either. Yeah, we're using Herbie. That's what we'll call it, that. Pink Herbie. As far as we know, Herbie was a guy, right?
Herbie?
Herbie, yeah. Herbie was a guy, right? As far as we know.
I think so.
What happens if Herbie was a girl? Then what? I mean, technically this could be a female version of Herbie. I don't see any downside.
Oh, the pink one. Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't watching the stream, so I was thinking, what we talk about? I don't know. Maybe I don't know if calling it pink. Maybe I don't know if calling a pink car female is sexist though. So I don't know if we're allowed to do that anymore.
No, I'm just thinking. Like, what would her be called if it was... Oh, Herbie was female, I guess. Either way.
Real name for Herbie? Herbie is a German name for girls that means bright army.
Oh.
I did not know that.
Either they knew that, or...
That's Google AI, apparently. I don't know where that comes from.
There
Baby girl names like Herbie. So you got Molly, Helen, Betsy, Sylvia. They don't really sound like Herbie, do they?
No.
Laurel.
Is that what Herbie's short for? Like a nickname?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
You know how, like, you say Richard, but then another name for Richard is Rick. And then you've got the other ones, you know. Well, and it's a case of... who's right and who's wrong? I could probably mention actually just something that's on my mind real quick. So earlier this year there was a games collection called Top Racer Collection, and it was essentially the Top Gear games from the 1980s in a nice little package, nice and easy, and they used a lot of music from Horizon Chase Turbo to the point where I actually had to ask Aquina Studios. I was like, did you guys collaborate with these, or did they just straight up rip the music out of your game? I didn't get much of an answer, other than, that's interesting. So I was like, okay, they didn't get permission, did they? I took it as that. So I don't know, maybe that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. But the game itself is basically the Top Gear games from the SNES days, I believe. So anyone that remembers those games, then yeah, there you go. Okay, so with Japan done, we now move on to the final location, which is Hawaii. And Hawaii happens to have two difficult races, one of which is in... Well, Molokini's not too bad, actually. I take that back. It's the last race that is the pain. This one's not as bad. So we'll find out, I guess. But yeah, the main races in Hawaii, one of them... Actually, I'm saying that they're both bad. This one's not that bad. It's the second one that's the pain. Yes. I think another. That's interesting. Thing is, racing games do like to, I'm not gonna say hit on car culture, but a lot of they like to take influence from, you know, culture, that car culture and stuff like that, and inspiration. Example, Burnout Paradise did that, where they took some of the cars from films like Back to the Future, Knight Rider, that sort of thing. Also, they said the live Fast and Furious, yay! And they put them into their games, obviously under different disguises and everything, but it's really cool. Very, very cool. I do like when games all do nods to classic TV shows and film series. It's very cool. Very, very cool.
Damien's just sent me, well, his name's Celtic Tranquilo, but we know him as Damien because he's one of the moderators. So he's sent me a message saying, Peaches is a yellow 2004 Volkswagen New Beetle Type 1C who appears in Herbie Fully Loaded 2004. So Peaches apparently is the female name for Herbie.
Huh.
Apparently. But Peaches is yellow and not pink, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's the more modern one. If I remember from the film, I remember there being a yellow VW Beetle that he quite likes. I do remember that bit in particular. Also, we are racing at the end of the world here, because this is the volcano part of the of Hawaii, apparently. Also, time is gonna be at the end of this race, so make sure you're ready on the timer. I'll give you a quick nudge, and it is time. Isn't yet, but it'll be when I cross the finish line for this.
We've also had a donation and a thing, but I'll read that in a sec.
Final lap. You're in first place. I don't know why I read stuff like that a lot, where it's like I read it as though it's out of Ridge Racer, because the commentator eventually got upgraded. I say upgraded, it changed to a male voice and then everything. But he always used to say, final lap, you're in, and then whatever place. If you're in the top 3, he'll tell you where you are. But in the other runs, he just wouldn't do it. Other games, he just doesn't tell you. Oh yeah, it's all the positions he won't tell you. Right, time's coming up, and time. Nice. And that is the run of Horizon Chase Turbo. We've gone all over the place and even got the Baser as well. Horizon Chase Baser. Beat it all together. Like I said, there is other categories as well. There is World Tour, there's the Senna Forever DLC, the Rookie Series I've just showed you. There's Summer Vibes, which is shorter, but in my opinion a bit more difficult. And there's even tournament modes and endurances as well. And like I said, that is basically Horizon Chase Turbo. That is everything about the game. Like I said, there isn't too much to it. It is a very simple racing game. It's on sale usually every now and again. Would highly recommend picking this game up. Like I said, the sequel is out, Horizon Chase 2 as well. and would highly recommend giving that a try. I haven't played it myself, but I've seen plenty of gameplay videos and things like that. But from what I believe, it is more of the same, but better. But that's still not to turn anything away from the original. The original is still just as good, very enjoyable from start to finish. And like I said, if you're looking for something that's not too serious or something that's a bit more arcadish, then this is the game for you, I'd say. In terms of, you know, picking it up, just playing it for a little bit and then putting it down again. It's very enjoyable, very fun. You can learn the speed runs. The run I've just done, Rookie Series, has a world record of 39:37, which is by Valkyrie. I accidentally pressed the button and I forgot about that. But yeah, would highly recommend it. And yeah, if you ever see it on sale, feel free to pick it up. And for now, I'll hand it back over to the host.
Thank you very much. We did get a £10 donation at the end of the run there by Damien himself, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm posting this donation message because all I need to say is family for £10. So that puts our total donations now to the Yellow and Blue Hub at £172.20. I cannot wait to send the message to say this is how much we've donated, because I know full well they're going to be over the moon with how much we've been raising. And I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has donated to the Yellow and Blue Hub during this marathon, because they are an exceptionally amazing group of people. They do so much, they help so many people, they do so much amazing work for the community as well. So to give them that much money in donations is absolutely incredible. But keep those donations coming in, everyone. We still have a few more runs. We've got 3 more runs left now of the marathon. The first one we're going to go to, we've got Tempest Mask 1000 with back-to-back runs first and foremost. That's going to be about an hour and a half worth of runs. And those are going to be Gunstar Heroes Any Percent Gunslinger. And there's also going to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Any Percent One Player runs. So those are the back-to-back Tempest Mask runs, which we'll be going to in just a moment. And that is before we finish with a really cool game that I'm really looking forward to seeing to close off the marathon, with Sneak King 50% new game, which we have met the incentive for. But if you do want to donate to that incentive, again, you can do so. There is absolutely nothing to stop you from doing that. So we're going to go over now to the intermission screen to listen to some fantastic music from the wonderful music catalogue of Epidemic Sound. Don't forget, if you do want to check out Epidemic Sound and to buy yourself a license, go down to the panels below. There's a link there. There's an affiliate link down there that will get a little bit of commission if you purchase a license, and you can use that then in your YouTube videos, Twitch live streams, or anything else that you want to use it for your content as well. For any content you create as well, you can buy yourself a license to that as well. But yeah, so thank you everybody for watching that. Thank you, Viper, for the run. Have you got any last shout outs you'd like to make before we finish?
Just 2 quick ones. First and foremost, obviously thanks to InstaYabathon for allowing me to run, but also big shout out goes out to my own community for supporting me through everything. But also, one of the other things that I want to mention, I mentioned before Barry Leach, the guy who did the soundtrack. Feel free to support him as a music artist. He recently put up the soundtracks for Horizon Chase Turbo, mainly Horizon Chase Turbo 2 or Horizon Chase 2. You can actually buy the music on CD, I believe, or on vinyl or something like that. Obviously, one of the biggest things that got hit, obviously artists got hit, as an actual drawing artist, and music artists got hit during the pandemic a lot. Would highly recommend supporting them whenever you get the chance. Barry Leach has made a lot of fantastic music over the last few decades, and without his touches with soundtracks, without his touches for this game, it wouldn't make it as good as it would be. So the fact that he's made the music and he's done such a good job with it, definitely a big shout out goes to him. And also keep supporting, like I said, indie developers as well. This was an indie developer project. The second game was less so because Epic Games backed it, but it's still technically an indie games thing to an extent. It was started as indie games, then Epic backed it. But yeah, feel free to give this game a try. Like I said, it's not that expensive. It's usually relatively cheap, and it's on sale every now and again as well. We would recommend joining the community as well. Anyway, on that note, yeah, that's kind of been my final words. Thank you very much.
No worries, thank you very much for taking part. Hopefully we will see you again at the next event, whenever that may be. Obviously, everybody stick around at the end to know what the future is of InstaSpeedathon going forward. We like to let you all know what's happening. But yeah, keep an eye out on that at the end of the marathon. But in any case, thank you, Viper, for the run, and we'll see you again next time.